Good morning, grade sixes, and welcome back to your English lessons and to WorksheetCloud. I have been reminiscing over the past couple of days. My husband and I have been looking at some old photographs of our kids when they were little, and especially in light of the fact that my daughter has just turned 21. And so we were just looking at those photographs from the beach to when we've been in the Drakensberg, to when she was 5 to 10, to when she did ballet. It was just so cute. And I just really encourage you, as you are still in lockdown, maybe go back in history. Ask mom and dad to take out those albums, or if you haven't got them in an album, we've got quite a few of our photographs just on our computer. So open the computer, go into the storage file, find out where they are, and just look back and giggle and laugh and smile and perhaps even cry. I saw 1 or 2 photographs of my mom, who's no longer with us, and yes, also brought tears to my eyes. So while there were happy memories looking at my children when they were little, it also brought sad memories remembering my mom. But I put those together and I thought, I know what my mom's legacy is, and so I still have a future. And so hopefully as you're looking at those photographs, you think about the past, but then you also think about your future. So on that note, let's jump into our lesson overview for today. So we are looking at the word of the day, and then we're going to look at summarizing techniques. So let's jump into our word of the day, and our word of the day is stewardship. So that is to be responsible to oversee and protect something that's considered worth caring for. And where it comes from, the origin, is it's a compound word coming from steward, which means a manager of finances, or other things, and ship, which is actually a suffix, and the suffix ship means skills. So managing skills, that kind of thing. So to put it together, you are able to manage things using the skills you've got. And stewardship is about really taking care of the things that you consider worth it. So, for example, here's a sentence that we could use. Under George's stewardship, her pocket money increased. So she was obviously in that case a very good steward of what she had, and then the teacher was a good steward of her time. And I think we're all needing to realize that the longer we're in lockdown, the more we need to be good stewards of our time, of our resources. So think about your academic work. Are you making absolutely the best that you can out of what you've been given? And also just think about the time that you have. Are you spending time with family? Are you also having those times where you've got to read or just be, a little bit quiet? Are you going off your device and having time just to be quiet from everything? So just an encouragement today is to be good stewards of what you've been given. Right, so our lesson today is on summarizing, and there's 3 points that I want to look at. First of all, just at the top here, the word summarize. You can try and remember it with the word sum. S, shorter than the text. U, use your own words. And M, main ideas only. So that really sums up what summarizing is about. So in a bit more detail, it helps you learn to determine essential ideas, so the main ideas, and then to consolidate important details that support them. It also enables you to focus on keywords and phrases of an assigned text. So whether you've got a book that you've been looking at or just a paragraph, what is worth noticing and remembering. And then it also teaches you to take large selections of text and to reduce it to the main points in your own words. Because you're going to get to high school and you're going to get to varsity where you've got a large amount of knowledge to get into your brain, and you can't get it all in there. So you've got to summarize what is the main parts that I have to remember or get into my head. So where to start? So first of all, you've got to list the repeated words. And I'm not talking about the word like the and because you'll be there forever. I'm talking about the repeated words that you think are important. So just this is a silly example in the sentence of the word, times, used, just to show you how to highlight or pull out the words that are repeated. And it's also really about the key ideas. So those repeated words that you're picking up, what key ideas do you notice about those words? And then it's important because often you're reading something and there's things that are important or essential, and then there's things that are just interesting. And the interesting stuff is good because it just goes, we go, oh wow, I didn't know that. But there's things that when you're reading, you need to focus on what is absolutely essential for me to know and what has just been put there just to add to that knowledge. So if we look at this picture going to a baseball game, what 3 are the most important? So all 6 are, we need those. All 6 of them would be great. But what 3 are the most important that we cannot have a baseball game without them? So just pause the video, take a look, and we'll come back in a couple of seconds. So I hope that you would have thought that, first of all, a mitt is important. That's over there. Obviously the bat, you can't play the game without it. And obviously the ball. So you've got the mitt in which to catch the ball if you're standing behind the guy that's hitting, and then you've got the bat and the ball. Yes, a team shirt, wearing a shirt would be great. It's a nice extra. I mean, you don't want to get sunburned and all that. A cap is extra, and obviously the popcorn as a snack is extra. And it obviously makes the game that much nicer because you can identify who's in your team by their shirt or their cap. And obviously while you're watching, you've got something to eat. But really the essential things for a baseball game are a mitt, a bat, and a ball. So let's look at the next 2 things. So camping, if you were to go camping, I've given you 6 things there, which 3 are the most essential, and then making a dessert. So out of those 2, I want you to just, pardon me, just take your piece of paper, write down the 3 that are most essential for camping and most essential for making a dessert. Right, and then we'll come back and go through it. There we go. So if we go camping, there's matches, a tent, a book, sleeping bags, snacks, and a frisbee. So out of those, the most essential ones are a tent, yes, and a sleeping bag, and matches. So obviously you might want to make a fire if you have to eat or keep warm or things like that. But the book is extra in case you get bored and you want to read. The snacks are extra, and obviously if you're bored, you can also play with the frisbee. Making a dessert. Straight away, if you look, they often say the cherry on top is the last thing. So cherry would be extra, the sprinkles would be extra, and the chocolate sauce. Obviously, just to have a bowl and a scoop and the ice cream is the most essential part. We can always add other interesting things or extras if we want to. So let's jump into this little paragraph. So I'm going to read it, and I want you to tell me what is the main idea. Just in one sentence. Try and summarize the main idea. So let's read it together. When one hears the term reality applied to a television show, one might expect that the events occurred naturally, or at least were not scripted. But this is not always the case. Many reality shows occur in unreal environments like rented mansions occupied by film crews. These living environments do not reflect what most people understand to be reality. Worse, there have been accusations that events not captured on film were later restaged by producers. Worse still, some involved in the production of reality TV claim that the participants were urged to act out storylines premeditated by producers. With such accusations floating around, it's no wonder many people take reality TV to be about as real as the sitcom or like a series like Friends. So pause the video, you might need to read it again, and in one sentence try to sum up what this paragraph is about, and then we'll come back and go through it together. Let's see how you did. So I've summed it up in one sentence. Reality TV shows are not very realistic because they are filmed in unrealistic places. They may contain restaged events and may be scripted. So hopefully you had something along those lines about reality TV shows not being as realistic as they're meant to be because they often are in places that aren't very natural. They often have scripts that they've been given and the producers change things around and re-film something. So as long as you had something along those lines, that's a great start. Let's look at another one. Right, so sorry about that. Let's take a look at another one. So I'm going to read it, and I do hope that when you did the first one about reality TV, never think that it's something that you can just do like that. You need to read something at least 2 or 3, 4 times, as many times as you need to get the main idea. And that applies to even the comprehension tasks that you need to do at school. So let's take a look at this one. There are many types of lethal venom in the animal kingdom, but perhaps no stranger carrier than the platypus. The platypus is one of few venomous mammals. Males carry a venom cocktail in their ankle spurs that paralyzes victims with excruciating pain. Stranger still, the platypus is the only mammal that uses electroreception. What this means is that the platypus uses its bill to sense the electricity produced by the muscular movements of its prey. The platypus neither sees, hears, nor smells its prey while hunting, but rather pursues it through electroreception. Perhaps most odd, the platypus is the only mammal that lays eggs rather than giving birth to live young. The platypus is an odd creature indeed. Now, the first time you read it, you might get a few things, but we're going to read it a second time, and then when we stop, you're going to read it a third time before you give me the main idea in 1 or 2 sentences. So here we go again. There are many types of lethal venom in the animal kingdom, but perhaps no stranger carrier than the platypus. The platypus is one of few venomous mammals. Males carry a venom cocktail in their ankle spurs that paralyzes victims with excruciating pain. Stranger still, the platypus is the only mammal that uses electroreception. What this means is that the platypus uses its bill to sense the electricity produced by the muscular movements of its prey. The platypus neither sees, hears, nor smells its prey while hunting, but rather pursues it through electroreception. Perhaps most odd, the platypus is the only mammal that lays eggs rather than giving birth to live young. The platypus is an odd creature indeed. So pause the video again. I want you to think about what we're talking about. Obviously, we know we're talking about the platypus, but specifically about how it kills its prey. So think about the different ways and come back and sum it up or wrap it up for me in 1 or 2 sentences. Off you go. Right, so here we go. Could have had something like this. The platypus is a strange mammal because it has venom, uses its beak to sense prey, and lays eggs. You could have even mentioned something about electroreception, would have been great. This one was a very, very summed up main idea, but I do hope that you're getting the hang of things as we go along. There will be an activity later that has a whole lot of different paragraphs like this, and you've got to identify the main idea and maybe even give a title. Right, so before we go on, we're going to do another example of a paragraph and how to summarize it, but I just want to remind you at this point, 1, you've got to read that text. Not once, not twice, a few times. Don't let big words scare you like that electroreception. And then ask yourself, what was this text that I've just been reading? What is it about? And then your answer should, remember, be a complete sentence or 2. It should cover the main points and some key ideas. It should be in your own words, and it shouldn't just be a word or 2. So we're going to jump into the next one, and then I'm going to show you a couple of responses, and you'll look at what they're missing or what they could have put in and think about your own response. So let's take a look at this. Invisibility, flight, the power to split into multiple bodies. These superhuman abilities have long been associated with ninjas, but ninjas didn't really do all of that stuff. They were just regular people with exceptional abilities. So why do people think that ninjas had superpowers? Well, one reason is that ninjas were very secretive and left behind few historical records of their activities. Since we do not know much about what they actually did, we are left to speculate. Another reason why people often think that ninjas had superhuman abilities is because of how ninjas are depicted in folklore, particularly during the Edo period in Japan. In such legends and works of art, ninjas were mysticized and romanticized. These romantic notions of ninjas as superheroes are perpetuated in media today. But maybe that's just because these days people expect ninjas to have supernatural abilities. Yeah. So, again, quite a interesting paragraph, but it's got some difficult words. So read it again. I'm going to read it again for you, and then I'm going to give you some time to read it again a few more times on your own. Come up with a couple of responses. We're talking about ninjas, but what specifically are we talking about? Invisibility, flight, the power to split into multiple bodies. These superhuman abilities have long been associated with ninjas, but ninjas didn't really do all of that stuff. They were just regular people with exceptional abilities. So why do people think that ninjas had superpowers? Well, one reason is that ninjas were very secretive and left behind few historical records of their activities. Since we do not know much about what they actually did, we are left to speculate. Another reason why people often think that ninjas had superhuman abilities is because of how ninjas are depicted in folklore, particularly during the Edo period in Japan. In such legends and works of art, ninjas were mysticized and romanticized. Think of mystery and mysticism, and romanticized, think of romance. You sort of picture it all just beautiful with never a terrible moment. These romantic notions of ninjas as superhero are perpetuated in media today. But maybe that's just because these days people expect ninjas to have supernatural abilities. Yeah. So pause the video. I want you to find the main ideas, write them down, maybe create a sentence or two, check it's a complete thought, check that you've covered everything. So pause the video at this stage, and then when we come back, we'll do 5 responses and see which ones are great, what they're missing, and so on. Right, are you ready? Let's go. So, the first person could have written, this passage is about how people thought ninjas had supernatural power because of the things they do. Okay, so it is sort of about that, but they did not express the main point clearly. They missed some key points, and they probably didn't read the whole passage. They just quickly skimmed through it or didn't read it more than once. Number 2, somebody could have written, this is about the folk tale of ninjas and what they think of their abilities. It does have that to it, but that's not the main idea. So they've missed the main idea and key points. Also shows that they did not read. So let's look at the next possibility. This passage was about how people thought ninjas had some types of powers because they were very secretive and left behind few historical records of their activities. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. They have covered the main idea about ninjas having powers. They've got some key ideas. Maybe we don't know about that because ninjas were very secretive and didn't leave any historical evidence. They've missed a key idea, and perhaps they've used too many words from the text. Historical records, secretive, superpowers. They haven't really put it in their own words. Another response could be, this passage was about superhuman abilities such as invisibility, flight, and the power to split into multiple bodies. Again, it doesn't cover the main idea clearly enough. They've used too much text from the passage. You can see invisibility, flight, the power to split into multiple bodies. They've only read the first sentence, is what I'm picking up, and so they did not read the rest of the text. And that will show you as a teacher, and you are showing us that you haven't read it and mulled over it, digested it a bit. I'm not sure if we did the word regurgitate, but you've got to chew on something before you then go and give it back. Right, another response could be, there we go. This text is about why people think ninjas have superpowers because they were secretive and legends. We're getting there a little bit. So it covers the main ideas, all the key ideas about being secretive and legendary. It is in your own words. It's very nicely summarized, and it doesn't include opinion or background information. So don't go putting all the things that you think and know about ninjas. So the text is about what? Ninjas. Why people think ninjas have superpowers, and it's because of what? One, that they were very secretive and legendary. So even today we think they're legends, and there's some mysticism about it. But I didn't use the word mysticized. I didn't use the word romanticized. So I do hope that you are going to practice these, use the activities that I've allocated for you, and yes, just to remind you that the activities will be there. And also, if you've got any questions, to email me at grade6@worksheetcloud.com. And it's specifically about this lesson on summarizing and main ideas. This is part 1. So the next lesson, we're going to look at part 2 of summarizing and another way in which you could do that. And we're going to look at quite a long passage and not just a short paragraph. So we'll do the next step, and then try and remember to use this word summary today, stewardship, or just steward. So you need to be a good steward of the time that you've been given in lockdown. I think in the beginning we all just were a bit in shock and maybe didn't do as much as we could. But now we've got a real opportunity to prioritize and schedule our days and to include things, and also to take time out to rest. So the last thing from me is just to thank you grade 6s for watching, and then you know that I will be same time, same place tomorrow. Bye guys.